Chapter 11. Killing the Demons, Vatsasura and Bakasura. When the twin Arjuna trees fell to the ground, making a sound like the falling of thunderbolts, all the inhabitants of Gokula, including Nanda Maharaja, immediately came to the spot. They were very much astonished to see how the two great trees had suddenly fallen. Because they could find no reason for their falling down, they were puzzled. When they saw child Krishna bound up to the wooden mortar by the ropes of Mother Yashoda, they thought that it must have been caused by some demon. Otherwise, how was it possible? At the same time, they were very much perturbed because such uncommon incidents were always happening to child Krishna. While the cowherd men were thus contemplating, the small children who were playing there informed the men that the trees had fallen because Krishna had pulled the wooden mortar with the ropes binding him. Krishna came in between the two trees, they explained, and the wooden mortar was topsy turvied and stuck in between the trees. Krishna pulled the rope and the trees fell down. When the trees fell down, two very dazzling men came out of the trees and they said something to Krishna. Most of the cowherd men did not believe the statement of the children. They could not believe that such things were at all possible. Some of the men, however, believed them and told Nanda Maharaja, "Your child is different from all other children. He just might have done it." Nanda Maharaja smiled to hear about the extraordinary abilities of his son. He came forward and untied the knot just to free his wonderful child. After being freed by Nanda Maharaja, Krishna was taken into the laps of the elder gopis. They took him away to the courtyard of the house and began to clap, praising his wonderful activities. Krishna danced along with their clapping, just like an ordinary child. The Supreme Lord Krishna, being completely controlled by the gopis, sang and danced just like a puppet in their hands. Sometimes Mother Yashoda used to ask Krishna to bring her a wooden plank for sitting. Although the wooden plank was too heavy to be carried by a child, still somehow or other Krishna would bring it to his mother. Sometimes his father, while worshipping Narayana, would ask him to bring his wooden slippers, and Krishna, with great difficulty, would put the slippers on his head and bring them to his father. When he was asked to lift some heavy article and was unable to lift it, he would simply move his arms. In this way, daily, at every moment, he was the reservoir of all pleasure for his parents. The Lord was exhibiting such childish dealings with the inhabitants of Vrindavana because he wanted to show the great philosophers and sages searching after the absolute truth how the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead is controlled by the subject to the desires of his pure devotees. One day, a fruit vendor came before the house of Nanda Maharaja. Upon hearing the vendor call, "If anyone wants fruits, please come and take them from me," child Krishna immediately took some grains in his palms and went to get fruits in exchange. In those days, exchange was by barter. Therefore, Krishna might have seen his parents acquire fruits and other things by bartering grain, and so he imitated. But his palms were very small, and he was not very careful to hold the grains tight, so he was dropping them. The vendor who came to sell fruits saw this and was very much captivated by the beauty of the Lord, so she immediately accepted whatever few grains were left in his palms and filled his hands with fruits. In the meanwhile, the vendor saw that her whole basket of fruit had become filled with jewels. The Lord is the bestower of all benedictions. If someone gives something to the Lord, he is not the loser. He is the gainer by a million times. One day, Lord Krishna, the liberator of the twin Arjuna trees, was playing with Balarama and the other children on the bank of the Yamuna. And because it was already late in the morning, Rohini, the mother of Balarama, went to call them back home. But Balarama and Krishna were so engrossed in playing with their friends that they did not wish to go back. They just engaged themselves in playing more and more. When Rohini was unable to take them back home, she went home and sent Mother Yashoda to call them again. Mother Yashoda was so affectionate toward her son that as soon as she came out to call him back home, her breast filled up with milk. She loudly cried, "Oh, my dear lotus eyed child, please come and drink milk from my breast. You have played enough. You must be very hungry. My dear little child, you must be tired from playing for so long." She also addressed Balarama thus: "My dear Rama, the glory of your family, my dear child, please come back with your younger brother Krishna immediately. You have been engaged in playing since early morning and you must be very tired. Please come back and take your lunch at home. Your father, Nandaraja, is waiting for you. He has to eat, so you must come back so that he can eat." As soon as Krishna and Balarama heard that Nanda Maharaja was waiting for them and could not take his food in their absence, they started to return. Their playmates complained, "Krishna is leaving us just at the point when our playing is at the summit. Next time we shall not allow him to leave." His playmates then threatened not to allow him to play with them again. Krishna became afraid and instead of going back home, he went back again to play with the boys. At that time, Mother Yashoda scolded the children and told Krishna, "My dear Krishna, do you think that you are a street boy? You have no home? Please come back to your home. I see that your body has become very dirty from playing since early morning. Now come home and take your bath. Besides, today is your birthday ceremony, therefore, you should come back home and give cows in charity to the Brahmanas. Don't you see how your playmates are decorated with ornaments by their mothers? You should also be cleansed and decorated with nice dress and ornaments. Please, therefore, come back, take your bath, dress yourself nicely, and then again you can go on playing." In this way, Mother Yashoda called back Lord Krishna and Balarama, who are worshipable by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. She was thinking of them as her children. When Mother Yashoda's children, Krishna and Balarama, came home, she bathed them very nicely and dressed them with ornaments. She then called for the Brahmanas and through her children she gave many cows in charity for the occasion of Krishna's birthday. In this way, she performed the birthday ceremony of Krishna at home. After this incident, all the elder cowherd men assembled together and Nanda Maharaja presided. They began to consult amongst themselves how to stop the great disturbances in Mahavana on account of the demons. In this meeting, Upananda, the brother of Nanda Maharaja, was present. He was considered to be learned and experienced, and he was a well wisher of Krishna and Balarama. He was a leader and he addressed the meeting as follows: "My dear friends, now we should leave here for another place because we are continually finding that great demons are coming here to disturb the peaceful situation, and they are especially attempting to kill the small children. Just consider Putana and Krishna. It was simply by the grace of Lord Hari that Krishna was saved from the hands of such a great demon. Next, the whirlwind demon took Krishna away into the sky, but by the grace of Lord Hari, he was saved, and the demon fell down on a stone slab and died. Very recently, this child was playing between two trees, and the trees fell down violently, and yet there was no injury to the child, so Lord Hari saved him again. Just imagine the calamity of this child or any other child playing with him were crushed by the falling trees. Considering all these incidents, we must conclude that this place is no longer safe. Let us leave. We have all been saved from different calamities by the grace of Lord Hari. Now we should be cautious and leave this place and reside somewhere where we can live peacefully. I think that we should all go to the forest known as Vrindavana, where just now there are newly grown plants and herbs. It is very suitable for pasturing ground for our cows, and we and our families, the gopis, with their children, can very peacefully live there. Near Vrindavana is Govardhana Hill, which is very beautiful, and there are newly grown grass and fodder for the animals, so there will be no difficulty in living there. I therefore suggest that we start immediately for that beautiful place, as there is no need to waste any more time. Let us prepare all our carts immediately, and if you like, let us go, keeping all the cows in front. On hearing the statement of Upananda, all the cowherd men immediately agreed, let us immediately go there. Everyone then loaded all their household furniture and utensils into the carts and prepared to go to Vrindavana. All the children, women, and old men of the village were arranged on seats, and the cowherd men equipped themselves with bows and arrows to follow the carts. All the cows and bulls were placed in front along with their calves, and the men with their bows and arrows surrounded the herds and carts and began to blow their horns and bugles. In this way, with tumultuous sound, they started for Vrindavana. And who can describe the damsels of Vraja? They were all seated on the carts and were very beautifully dressed with ornaments and costly saris. They chanted the pastimes of child Krishna as usual. Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini were seated on a separate cart, and Krishna and Balarama were seated on their laps. While Mother Rohini and Yashoda were riding on the cart, they talked to Krishna and Balarama, and feeling the pleasure of such talks, they looked very, very beautiful. In this way, after reaching Vrindavana, where everyone lives eternally, very peacefully and happily, they encircled Vrindavana, drew all the cards together in a half circle, and in this way constructed a temporary residence. When Krishna and Balarama saw the beautiful appearance of Vrindavana, Govardhana Hill, and the banks of the river Yamuna, they felt very happy. As they grew up, they began talking with their parents and others in childish language, and thus they gave great pleasure to all the inhabitants of Vrindavana. Soon Krishna and Balarama had grown sufficiently to be given charge of the calves. Cowherd boys from the very beginning of their childhood are trained to take care of the cows, and their first responsibility is to take care of the little calves. So, along with the other little cowherd boys, Krishna and Balarama went into the pasturing ground and took charge of the calves, and sometimes the two brothers played on their flutes, and sometimes they played with amalaka flowers and bale fruits, just as small children play with balls. Sometimes they danced and made tingling sounds with their ankle bells. Sometimes they made themselves into bulls and cows by covering themselves with blankets. Thus Krishna and Balarama played. The two brothers also used to imitate the sounds of bulls and cows and play at bullfighting. Sometimes they used to imitate the sounds of various animals and birds. In this way, they enjoyed their childhood pastimes apparently like ordinary mundane children. Once, when Krishna and Balarama were playing on the bank of the Yamuna, a demon of the name Vatsasura assumed the shape of a calf and came there intending to kill the brothers. By taking the shape of a calf, the demon could mingle with the other calves. Krishna, however, specifically noticed this, and he immediately alerted Balarama about the entrance of the demon. Both brothers then silently approached him. Krishna caught hold of the demon calf by the two hind legs and tail, whipped him around very forcibly, and threw him up into a tree. The demon lost his life and fell down from the top of the tree to the ground. When the demon lay dead on the ground, all the playmates of Krishna congratulated him. Well done, well done. And the demigods in the sky showered flowers with great satisfaction. In this way, the maintainers of the complete creation, Krishna and Balarama, used to take care of the calves every day, beginning in the morning, and thus they enjoyed their childhood pastimes as cowherd boys in Vrindavana. One day, all the cowherd boys went to the bank of the river Yamuna to water their calves. When the calves drank water from the Yamuna, the boys also drank. After drinking, when they were sitting on the bank of the river, they saw a huge animal which looked something like a heron and was as big as a hill. The heron's top was as strong as a thunderbolt. When they saw that unusual animal, they became afraid of it. The name of this beast was Bakasura, and he was a friend of Kamsa's. He appeared on the scene suddenly and immediately attacked Krishna with his pointed, sharp beak and quickly swallowed him up. When Krishna was thus swallowed, all the boys, headed by Balarama, became almost breathless, as if they had died. But when the Bakasura demon was swallowing up Krishna, he felt a burning, fiery sensation in his throat. This was due to the glowing effulgence of Krishna. The demon quickly threw Krishna up and tried to kill him by pinching him in his beak. Bakasura did not know that although Krishna was playing the part of a child of Nanda Maharaja, he was still the original father of Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, Mother Yashoda's child, who is the reservoir of pleasure for the demigods and who is the maintainer of saintly persons, caught hold of the great gigantic heron by the two halves of his beak and before his cowherd boys bifurcated his mouth, just as a child very easily splits a blade of grass. From the sky, the denizens of the heavenly planets showered flowers like the mallika, the most fragrant of all flowers, as a token of their congratulations. Accompanying the showers of flowers was a vibration of bugles, drums, and conch shells. When the boys saw the showering of flowers and heard the celestial sounds, they were struck with wonder. And when they saw Krishna freed from the mouth of the great demon Bakasura, all of them, including Balarama, were so pleased that it seemed as if they had regained their very source of life. As soon as they saw Krishna coming towards them, they one after another embraced the son of Nanda and held him to their chests. After this, they assembled all the calves under their charge and began to return home. When they arrived home, they spoke of the wonderful activities of the son of Nanda. When the gopis and cowherd men all heard the story from the boys, they felt great happiness because naturally they loved Krishna, and by hearing about his glorious and victorious activities, they became still more affectionate towards him. Thinking that child Krishna had been saved from the mouth of death, they looked upon his face with great love and affection. They were full of anxiety and could not turn their faces from the vision of Krishna. The gopis and the men began to converse amongst themselves about how wonderful it was that child Krishna had been attacked in so many ways and so many times by so many demons, and yet the demons themselves had been killed and Krishna had remained uninjured. They continued to converse amongst themselves about how so many great demons in such fierce bodies had attacked Krishna to kill him, but by the grace of Hari had not been able to cause even a slight injury. Rather, they had died like small flies in a fire. Thus, they remembered the words of Gargamuni, who had foretold by dint of his vast knowledge of the Vedas and astrology that this boy would be attacked by many demons. Now, they were actually seeing that this was coming true word for word. All the cowherd men, including Nanda Maharaja, used to talk of the wonderful activities of Lord Krishna and Balarama, and they were always so much absorbed in those talks that they forgot the threefold miseries of this material existence. This is the effect of Krishna consciousness. What was enjoyed 5000 years ago by Nanda Maharaja can still be enjoyed by Krishna conscious persons simply by talking about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna and his associates. Thus, Balarama and Krishna enjoyed their childhood pastimes imitating Lord Ramachandra's monkeys who constructed the bridge over the ocean and Hanuman who jumped over the water to Ceylon. They used to imitate such pastimes among their friends and so happily pass their childhood life. Hare Krishna.